Hey everyone, just real quick before we hop into the main show with Katie, I just wanted to let you guys know that there's going to be some tobacco use in this video, so if you've got young kids watching or if you're sensitive to that kind of thing, maybe just listen to it and minimize this window. Thank you guys as always, and we'll get right to it. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thank you guys for being here as always, and today we've got a slightly different type of video. Kind of a video podcasty idea that I had. Just decided, why not? I'd rather turn this into more of a conversation in between me and a very good friend of mine, Katie. And I just gestured the wrong way because my webcam is reversed.
Where am I?
Exactly. Katie does the Mooncast, Moon Jockeys podcast. Wonderfully underrated podcast that desperately needs more and more listeners. They make amazing stuff. Blew my mind with the Phantom Menace dissection episode. I still haven't gotten around to your next Last Jedi one, but I think it's fair to say that you and I have similar opinions about The Last Jedi in most respects.
Oh, yes. Oh, definitely. It's so nice to be here with you, Andy. I always love talking to you about Star Wars. Well, even when we disagree, you're always so nice, it's just so much fun. And yeah, thank you so much for listening to my podcast, Moon Jockeys. And my favorite Star Wars movie is The Phantom Menace. So of course, I just have so much to say about that one. That's one of my favorite episodes that we've ever done as well.
Exactly. Yes.
Because a lot of people just don't get the Phantom Menace, but I'm one with the Phantom Menace. Right? It's yes. And so just any chance I have to talk and kind of explain why that movie is so underrated, I jump on it.
Yeah, exactly. Unapologetic fan, and that is awesome. That's exactly what... It's exactly the type of people I wanted to meet through doing this
exactly
stuff. So.
Yeah, precisely. The more of my day I can spend talking about Star Wars, just the happier I am, and finding other people that love it as much as I do. That's why we do it. That's why we talk.
Exactly. But there are people out there that may have had some issues with the last movie.
Maybe just a few. A few people, I think, have had that opinion. I don't.
Yeah, and the point of this initial video podcast is not to go on a righteous crusade against the unsavory types that are giving everybody that dislike The Last Jedi a bad name. But
I don't want to call anybody a hater, but
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, I just want to make a distinction in between, in between talking with the people that commented on my second Last Jedi review, Marwaki and Paul, and the people that edit Wikipedia pages.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, there's definitely a difference between people who have valid criticisms with the movie or just didn't feel it. They're just not the Star Wars movie for me. That's fine. There's a difference between those people and people on edit Wikipedia pages.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, there's a difference. Yeah. One of these people you can actually have a conversation with, and the others, they're not really interested in having a conversation, an honest back and forth. Yeah. And so that's what we're here to do today, is have an honest back and forth with, we loved the movie, and we're going to give our take on the critiques.
Exactly. All right. Yeah. Well, first off, we've got Marwaki, wonderful dude. One of the very first viewers on the Twitch channel, before I even started making YouTube videos. And, also, I think the first subscriber I even had over there. Thank you so much, man.
Whoa.
I know that you're probably watching this video. I love you. You rock.
That's
Thank you so much.
Nice. Oh, it's that's
Marwaki
so nice.
is awesome.
Yeah.
He shows up to damn near every stream. I love the guy. But he didn't.
Great.
As he says, wasn't a fan of this movie. My feeling is they should have just finished the chase and let the rest of A New Hope start. Yeah, I thought about that when I was first reading this comment. I was like, actually, I would totally be down for a siege type. I don't remember the name of. There was a TV show that was made in Canada or something called Flashpoint. And it was about a SWAT team and stuff. It was kind of like SWAT, but less corny and more serious.
Okay, all right.
And they were doing this crazy. I think, they always had the bank robbery and the hostage situation and the conspiracy plots and everything. But it would have been interesting to see sort of like the First Order trying to board the Raddus and then like the Resistance. Yeah, wouldn't that be cool? Like an entire movie where it's just taking place on board a ship.
I could see. Yeah, right. I could see Hux walking in the same way like Vader does, where he's got like his big coat, you know,
and then tripping over said big coat.
Right. That's exactly. Well, that would be like exactly Rian Johnson's tone, where it's just like we have the big dramatic setup, like all the smoke and everything, and Hux walks out, trips.
Oh, I love you, Dominic Gleeson.
Yeah,
he pulled that one off so good.
He was excellent.
Spoiled CEO's son. But anyways, it did have an Empire Strikes Back feel. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's a big thing, is the mythology and the repeating of tales. I mean, it's a meme joke now, you know.
Yeah.
It's like poetry. It rhymes.
It rhymes.
Terrible George Lucas. But anyway, I'm not sure whether or not Milwaukee's saying it's a bad thing that it had an Empire Strikes Back feel. I
would think ideally that's a good thing, because isn't Empire like everybody's favorite Star Wars? Not everybody, obviously.
Yeah.
Like, most people think that Empire is the best one. So comparing it to Empire isn't that a good thing? But yeah, and I agree. I feel like, actually, I'm torn. I feel like The Last Jedi, it feels so Phantom Menace-y to me, in that it shakes up Star Wars and tries to do something new with Star Wars. But then it also has a very Empire Strikes Back kind of feel, in that our heroes get dirt kicked in their faces. Like all across the board, everybody fails. And so, yeah, it does have that very Empire Strikes Back kind of feel. And I take that as a compliment. Like, even in the context of what's written here, how Last Jedi has an Empire Strikes Back feel, I feel like that's praise.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. It goes on to say, the bombing scene threw me out of the film, but I'll go with your magnet headcanon. That was headcanon that I came up with before I got the Last Jedi visual dictionary. And yes, I was right. It's magnets. Yes, I win. How many fake internet points do I win?
20 and a smiley face.
I'll take it. I'll take
20 internet points and a smiley face.
No, too many plot holes. I'm going to be honest. I think a lot of the plot, he doesn't explain exactly which plot holes he has issues with. But I think, just in the general sense, I think there are plot holes with it that you do have to make an intuitive leap to make that, to fill that in. Sure. But I think a lot of the plot holes that people are complaining about are really things that don't need to be explained. Sure. You know? Okay. Like, yeah, give me an example. We understand, like, for example, we understand how the Millennium Falcon goes through hyperspace and how it's faster than everybody else, even though it doesn't look like it's moving faster than everyone else. She's got to where it counts. Yeah, exactly. Right? Yeah, she's got to where it counts. We understand that, like, there's like that weird gravity switcheroo thingy-majig that happens in A New Hope with the gun turrets on the top and bottom of the Falcon. Like, the gravity doesn't make sense, but it doesn't matter. Like, there is the explanation in, like, the cross sections books and stuff that explain to us that, you know, there's like little pocket gravity generators and pocket gravity fields and whatever that kind of help to express those things, but we don't need to know it to enjoy the movie. At least I didn't need to know it to enjoy the movie. Yeah, I don't need every little thing explained. Sorry about that. No, I don't need every little thing explained to understand this movie. I don't know why, but I don't think about those things because they just feel so genuine in the moment. When Paige lets the bombs fall, it feels genuine. I don't know why. Maybe. Sorry. No, it's fine. Fortunately, this is a recording and not a live stream. Right? Yeah, just to me, it feels genuine in that moment that Paige needs to drop the payload and she is sacrificing her life to make this happen. So to me, it feels genuine
the emotional sincerity in that moment is that she is going to do what she set out to do. And it just doesn't occur to me that she's in space, you know, and
exactly.
that these bombs shouldn't have gravity. It just felt right. So those things didn't click in my mind until I heard that criticism afterwards. So
yeah, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. I know that Paul mentioned some very specific plot hole things that he had a problem with, so we'll wait to finish covering that until then. Marlaki goes on to say, I'm fine with the Leia scene. I just felt it was a very long, slow chase. Okay. So he was great. He was great with the Leia scene. Thank you. I'm so glad that there's more than just Katie and a few other people that was happy with that Leia scene. Felt like a very long, slow chase. Yeah, but Mad Max was a long, slow chase. Okay, it had a lot more action sequences, but
it kept everything moving.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I felt Luke's character was assassinated in the story. Let's Google character assassination. Character
You actually
assassination. Marlaki's good stuff. The malicious and unjustified harming of a person's good reputation. Okay. I can understand that perspective.
Sure. Are they coming at it from like a Mark Hamill kind of way? Thank you.
Snackums.
Yes.
Exactly.
The Mark Hamill where he was just like, what did he say? That a Jedi doesn't give up. So he felt like it was insincere for Luke Skywalker to walk away from everything, which I guess it depends. Your mileage may vary whether you believe in Luke Skywalker the myth or Luke Skywalker the man. I think it really just came down to what you were looking for in this movie and how much you were willing to believe that Luke would be undone by the fall of his nephew and the role he had to play in that. So it really is personal how much you believe that and how much you're willing to accept it. If that didn't work for you, if you wanted to believe that Luke Skywalker would come through no matter what and not walk away from things, I understand that. But I would say that's kind of the point of the end of the movie is that he does come through. He is ultimately able to put aside these things and be there for Leia when she needs him.
Yeah.
So
exactly. And you expect me to walk out and face down the First Order with nothing but a laser sword? Yes. Yep, that's exactly what you do. Oh.
Yes. You're Luke freaking Skywalker.
I can't.
That's so good to me because Luke spends this whole movie, he's saying, I'm not who she needs me to be. I'm not this legend. I'm not who you think I am. He just keeps saying, I'm not. But then, of course, Yoda tells him, what the need in front of your nose? You are Luke Skywalker, and that's all anybody needs you to be. And it's enough. It's enough for him to just be Luke Skywalker. It's so beautiful to me. I love it. I love it so much.
I am so petrified. I am so petrified. Quick tangent. I am so petrified of recording my commentary for The Last Jedi. Because it's just going to turn into me sobbing for the last 15 minutes. I can't stop.
Unintelligible.
Yes, exactly. It's so good. But yeah, it comes down to Luke's character. Mm-hmm. It comes down to it's just personal preference. It's just you do. I think that a lot of people, including you, Marwaki, might have that image, that legend of Luke Skywalker. Like, I actually have the book right here on my desk. Can I do it without ruining the audio? Yes, exactly. The Legends of Luke Skywalker. This is completely outlandish and crazy, ridiculous things. Like, there's a story in here where Luke is a hologram floating in space, shooting out lightning bolts and destroying Star Destroyers. Like,
oh my god!
Like, it's completely outlandish, ridiculous stuff. And he's like this like boogeyman to the Imperials. And if you buy into that legend and that is who that character is to you, I'm sorry that that's not the way that Lucasfilm and Rian Johnson decided to go with it. I just understand that there are plenty of people like me who, I was kind of like, that's not my Luke when I was first watching the movie. But then I thought back and realized, he wanted adventure and
he did, yeah.
Excitement in his life. He wasn't expecting to be the galaxy's only hope for light and peace for 40 goddamn years.
Yeah, he was not. What did Yoda say? Yeah, excitement, adventure. A Jedi wants not these things, like these were all the things that Luke wanted, but I don't think he wanted to be the savior, I think, and
he wanted I think Luke wanted to be Wedge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Luke wanted to be Wedge.
Wedge is Luke's hero. Like, yes, we're all looking up to Luke, and Luke's looking up to Wedge.
Anyways, but sorry, I interrupted.
No, that's okay. I think, but I get it in a way. If you're looking at Luke and you're thinking, I'm so disappointed in him, I'm disappointed in this movie, it's not what I wanted. I get it, because at the end of Force Awakens, I was so angry at Luke Skywalker, and I didn't really believe that was a natural way for Luke to go. Specifically, we have an entire movie, Force Awakens, where Leia is looking for Luke. And Leia's like, how could I have been so foolish as to think I could find Luke and bring him home? And that wasn't right to me. It wasn't right that Leia would be going, Luke, come home. Luke, where are you? Luke, I need you. And Luke would ignore the call. I was so upset, because everything in the OT begins and ends with Leia for Luke. She is very much tied to his journey. She gives him the call to action, the call to be a hero. Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. And he's like, well, we got to help her. She's in trouble. And then at the very end, Vader threatening to turn Leia to the dark side is what almost pushes Luke over the edge. And so everything begins and ends with Leia for Luke. And for him to just be all like, no, Leia, I'm done with everything. I'm going to sit in my sad sand cave. That wasn't right. I hated it. But then The Last Jedi gave me what I thought was a really good reason for why Luke would ignore the call, and that's he can't face her. He tried to kill her son. And that struck me as very real and very, very good reason and in character reason for why Luke would not want to talk to Leia and be too ashamed to go talk to her. Like, it was tough. It was hard. So I get it. I do. I really do get it.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. Well, I'll stop, but I'll stop. And then he continues for another, just as long as he had been going. I love you, Marlaki. You rock.
I'll stop. I'm at the halfway point. I'll stop. Take a breath.
But all of this movie was probably, I'm going to just say, in your opinion, the worst movie of the prequel trilogy and the original trilogies. I don't know where Abrams will go with the next movie. Well, on Abrams going in the next movie, that's the great thing, is that we've already gotten all the Return of the Jedi tropes out of the way.
Yeah.
The throne room scene's gone.
Right.
The connection in between Rey and our hero and the bad guy has already been
the elevator scene.
Yeah, exactly. It's already the elevator scene has already been a thing. Like the whole reminding him of his true name. It's like I've accepted that you were once Anakin Skywalker, my father. Like that whole scene, that's out of the way, and that's so exciting. I know it's all gone, and now JJ gets to just go bonkers with it, and I'm so ready.
He's gonna go bananas. What is gonna happen? I don't even know. Oh, honestly, at this point, if he's just fourth Death Star, I'll be JJ. Don't JJ. You have You're clear for, anything you want. The whole, just pour out your imagination of what could happen. And if you just do fourth Death Star, nah, man. For
what it's worth, he does seem to have responded to the displeasure of prequel fans like you and me,
right.
who really wanted didn't really like the bashing of the prequels that kind of That really side underhand bashing of the prequels that he kind of threw during the press tours, and real sets, practical effects.
Real sets, practical effects.
There's
like
more digital shots in The Force Awakens than any other Star Wars movie. But I don't know. It just he did. I don't remember the exact quote, and I don't have it up ready for me, but he did say something along the lines of how his biggest goal with episode 9 is to tie it all together, to take the entire saga, the prequels, the original trilogy, and the first 2 sequels, to tie them all together into one thing. And I saw one thing.
Yeah. If he means that, my heart will just soar. If he honestly truly means that. What were you going to say though?
I saw somebody on Twitter. I don't remember who it is. It might've been Charlie Ashby of the Imperial Senate podcast. Said something along the lines of, referencing that JJ quote. And he said something like, what would happen if, because the Resistance is so underpowered, that they go off and find an old droid army in storage? Yes! Yes! Do that, son. I know. Wouldn't that be so cool?
Go on without me. Oh.
Exactly.
Oh, no. Like, can you just imagine Poe Dameron trying to navigate these droids, and they're just like, Roger, Roger. And he's just like, he's so good. He's so good.
Oh, he's so great. Yes, please.
Please.
Oh. Oh man. But
that would be amazing.
Yes. I could just imagine Finn too.
Finn, right? Look at these droids. Oh my gosh.
Oh, that would be a really strong character moment or something like that for Finn. Like because I wonder if they could kind of try and, like, in this hypothetical wild fantasy scenario, I wonder if they could, like, make it a powerful character moment for Finn where he sees the droids and he kind of maybe sort of identifies with, like, one of them that might have some weird programming or something like that. Because
they were made to fight.
Yeah.
That's the thing. They were built for one purpose, and then that's a lot of ways how Finn feels. You know, he was raised for one purpose, and like, ooh, that'd be tough. That'd be fun though. Yeah. I'd be here for that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
But anyways, I think that I have faith in J.J. Abrams, and for what it's worth, I do have faith in Terrio. Josh Terrio, I can't remember his first name. Terrio, the guy that's co-writing episode.
Co-writing, yep.
Yeah. Yes, he did do Batman versus Superman. Batman versus Superman is a WB movie.
Yeah. No,
let's just keep in mind what WB does to every blasted film.
He was working uphill. Like, just freaking, what did Patty Jenkins have to work with? Like, not a ton. Like, they kept wanting to cut all of her best stuff from that movie, and she had to fight tooth and nail. Like, everybody's favorite scene was Wonder Woman walking across no man's land. That's the highlight of the movie for so many of us, and WB wanted to cut it out.
Right.
Like, so I don't blame this guy solely for Batman v
Superman. I actually have never seen it, but on that side, Terrio also wrote Argo.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Like,
well,
he completely
powerful light, powerful dark.
Exactly. All about the balance, man. Now I'm just going to let you take this one, Katie.
Sure.
No strong bad guy.
No, yeah, that criticism for episode 9, it's going to have no strong bad guy. How do I start? I think it's so fascinating that Kylo is going to step up and be our big bad, because we don't know what to expect from him. We don't know which way he's going to go. Of course, you know, will it be powerful redemption or just tragedy, he dies, like, you know? And because if we had gone into episode 9 with Snoke still alive and Snoke still pulling all of Kylo's strings, we know how that ends. We absolutely know how that ends. It's like, it ends with a throne room scene. It ends with, remember who you really are. You're Ben Solo. And then we kill Snoke. All is well. He's Ben Solo again. All is well. But without Snoke, it's just Kylo now and his own choices. No one is left manipulating him. That is fascinating. And that's such a strong, interesting villain to me, is someone who's just, everything's been kicked out from underneath him. It's just, wow. And then we haven't even talked about Hux yet. Like, what is Hux going to do? Hux wants so badly to be the big bad of this series. Like, he wants it. He can taste it. Like, if he can just get rid of Ren, then he can step up and be the next Palpatine, basically. He wants it. And I'm just so excited to see Hux make his move. And then how is Kylo going to respond to that? And my mind is all over the place. Like, no strong bad guy. We have two.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Like, I compare them as, I think that Hux is like, Hux is like the CEO's son, or rather the vice president's son of a company. He didn't do anything to actually earn his position. Yeah,
he started interning there when he was like 16.
Exactly.
Right?
And then he, assassinated his dad, but that's a different story. Okay, he had somebody else assassinate his dad for him. Whatever. Yeah,
exactly.
He's the CEO's son, and I'm sorry, CEO's sons are scary. Like the craving of power, but the lack of discipline and and Kylo is. I usually try to avoid politics, but to me, at least, the comparison of Kylo and the supremacist style archetype of a person, the creepy suburban kid that is the son of war heroes, but is obsessed with this. With the darker side of things, and it just that's dangerous and unpredictable, and
it's dangerous and it's compelling.
And
terrifying. Yes,
like, I am way more scared. Yeah. Like, I would be way more scared walking into a room with Kylo Ren in it than I would be walking into a room with Darth Vader in it. Yeah,
because that was the thing about Vader, is that you always knew what to not say. If you say something, he's gonna force choke you, but you know what his triggers are. You know, right? Like, if you walk in to a room with Vader and you have bad news, hey, guess what? We lost our fleet. Well, you're gonna get force choked. Like, but if you walk in and tell him, hey, it's gonna be 70 degrees out, it's a lovely day, like, he's not gonna force choke you.
Right.
You do that with Kylo, though. Kylo, like, he could just go off. You're not really sure what is going to set him off, and that's terrifying. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
So I respect what you have to say, Marlaki, but I hope that me and Katie fanning out over Kylo and Hux might have inspired you to think of those characters in a slightly different light.
Exactly. I do understand the appeal of having a big, obvious bad villain like Snoke, someone powerful and just kind of that obvious villain, like the hero has to go slay a dragon, right? You want that dragon to go slay. But I don't know, this kind of Mad King thing that Kylo has going on.
He's Joffrey. Son of
He's Joffrey.
He's Joffrey.
Right? There you go. Yeah.
How did I not see that? No, okay, Hux is more Joffrey, but
I was going to say, like, I feel like Hux is more Joffrey in that kind of childish way, and kind of like, I deserve this kind of way. Like, I'm not sure where Kylo fits in the whole, like, Game of Thrones parallels, but yeah, that whole archetype of somebody sitting on the throne and has that much power and is that unpredictable and immature, that's a compelling villain. I'm sorry. Like, the big dragon to go slay is cool, and I get the appeal in that, but I also am really digging the Kylo and Hux dynamic. Like,
yes, exactly. Yep. All right. So, goes on to say, Leia's actor gone, leaves no real leader for the rebels, and a movie people can get behind we'll get to Rey's background here in a second, because I've got lots of feelings on that.
Right?
Leia's actor. The unfortunate passing of Carrie Fisher, I don't know how they're going to handle it. I'm halfway in between an off-screen death or an implied death, and recasting.
I don't think they're going to recast her.
Yeah, I don't think so either, but it feels so weird to kill off Leia in a crawl, though.
I mean, it's going to be a book, honestly. Either a comic, which I don't think, because more people read books these days, I think, than comics. Mm-hmm. It's easier to sell a book than a comic, and it's easier to get books into people's hands than comics. Especially comics are so weighted because people feel like they're coming in the middle of things. You know, they feel like if you're not already part of the comic book world, the comic book scene, then people just wrongly feel like they can't get into it. So, but a book, anybody can pick up a book. So I feel like the whole Leia death thing is going to be a very epic, very tear-jerky book that will then be referenced at the beginning of episode 9. That's how I feel. Yeah. And about the whole, like, well, there's no leader who can step up and take her place. That was the whole point of Poe Dameron. I'm sorry. There he is.
If you guys scroll down to the description, Katie's personal Twitter handle is Poe Hot Dameron. Just saying.
That's me. He's my boy. I love Poe so much. And that was the whole, I feel such a sense of closure now that The Last Jedi is done, because I felt so strongly before that movie that Poe would be the natural successor to Leia, particularly because of what they were doing with Poe in his comic book. But of course, I realize not everybody reads Poe's comic book, but they had very strongly implied that Leia was grooming Poe and wanted Poe to step up and be a leader. Issue 14. If you're going to read one of Poe's comics, make it issue 14, because in that one, Leia and Poe attend a funeral. This comic was specifically written. Yeah.
I remember this comic. I actually didn't read it, but I saw the panel that I know that you're about to reference.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. When this comic was specifically written after Carrie Fisher's death, and in this comic, Leia has a line where she looks at Poe and she says, "I'm not going to be around forever. One of these days, I will be luminous." And and so she is really looking to Poe to take up, to fight the fight when she's not around. But again, that was the comic. And I'm like, am I going to have to spend the next 2 years between episodes 8 and 9 trying to convince people to go read Poe's comic? Just like, please understand, Poe is our new Leia. Like, please. Right. But the movie did it for me. The entirety of episode 8, as far as Poe and Leia are concerned, is about setting up Poe as Leia's successor. And then it culminates. We actually see it happen. We see the moment where Poe says, "Follow me." And Leia just says, "Follow him." Like, she has passed. Yeah, come on. Like, no, we have our new leader. Exactly. And it's Poe. Like, my gosh. No. Yeah. She has passed on that torch. Poe is our new leader. We have what we need, and it's Poe Dameron.
Yeah, and I've got 2 bits. One, I have heard the complaint that, Poe's learned the lesson that he learned in The Last Jedi twice in the comics. And I'm going to put that more on the comics' fault than the movie. Yeah. Because the comic, like, that's a failure in the story group to teach that same lesson to Poe 3 times. And those comics came out before the movies, and I'm sorry, comics trump movies. Or reverse, strike that.
Reverse it.
But what's that Missy Elliott song? Anyways,
no, I agree. Story groups should have been more cohesive. Maybe they were trying to just hammer out this idea and just really lay the groundwork for Carrie Fisher's gone. Poe needs to step up. Poe. This is our guy. This is our shining light, our hope. I think Story Group was trying to really hammer out that idea, and then the sad result was that we got Poe learning the same lesson 3 times.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's okay. At least it's in the movie, and I don't have to keep explaining it to people. Like, it's there, and most people get that, and they're like, oh, awesome. Okay, Poe. When Poe shows up as the leader of the rebellion in episode 9, I don't think most people are going to be confused as to why.
Yeah, exactly. And it'll be, oh God, I can't wait for, it's 2 years.
I
know. Okay. And my second point real quick is, leaving no real leader. Maybe, okay, Poe is the leader, but they have heroes. They have Rey. They have Finn. Yes. Rose is going to be a hero now to the people in the Resistance. So they're going to have these figureheads. They have the Falcon.
Right.
I know that ship blasting off in at the very end with Broom Boy.
Yeah.
I know that that's not the Falcon probably in canon. I don't care. I don't want them to ever explain that because that is totally the Falcon. At least in my brain, that's the Falcon.
Yeah.
And it just, there's something so beautiful about this one little spark of hope. The same ship just screaming through the galaxy, igniting the fire.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a run-on. Yes, I know. Poe's quote is a run-on sentence. I don't care. I like it.
Right? I like it too. And just, I like this idea that, when Luke Skywalker walks into a room, just seeing him reignites everyone's hope because we have Luke Skywalker on our side. It's the same with the Falcon. When the Falcon flies in, we have the Falcon on our side. We can do this. Just having that legend, the Falcon in and of itself is a legend. And the Resistance has that. If they can see the Falcon flying in, you're all clear, kid. Let's blow this thing and head home. Like,
oh God, and the Falcon coming in at the Battle of Crate. Seeing the shadow on the ground. So like I knew as soon as the 3 TIE fighters got knocked out with one laser blast.
I know. So
get some, Rey. But anyways, it just seeing that I had that, like I sent an email into Moon Jockeys that that I'm not a loud person in the theater, but I had to actually, like, I was sitting there like this, trying to keep myself from standing up and going, yeah, when I saw the Falcon's shadow on the ground. It's so stupid, but it just, so good.
Oh man, I know. This is really weird. And this is kind of a tangent, but for me, oddly, that moment, I'm a very loud person in a theater. Like, I'm just like, whoa, like, or laughing really hard or crying, sobbing because of Leia. Like, but the only moment that's ever made me, like, I almost jumped out of my seat because I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Like, it was like seeing my fanfic happen, was for a hot second, I really thought we were going to get Emperor Hux, like Supreme Leader Hux. Because when he's all like, the Supreme Leader's dead, who do you think you're talking to? Like, I thought for a second he was going to step up. And I was just like, I almost like jumped out of my seat.
I know.
Why was that what got me? I have no idea. I'm sorry.
That's whatever. That's the beauty of fandom, is that you don't need to explain.
Right. It's just it got me.
Why you love something or why you dislike something. You don't need no one.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
No Sometimes one deserves an explanation.
Right. Sometimes you just don't feel it, and that's okay. Yeah. But no, I love that you almost jumped out of your seat for the Falcon. That's way better than jumping out of your seat for Hux.
Although that was such a good scene. Nope, not today. So good, so good. And the force choke, because we haven't seen him force choke anybody.
Right. He was always tantrum boy, like, like slashing stuff up, whatever. But then with Hux, he was like, Like, that was real good.
Domhnall Gleeson can kick some ass when it comes to acting the force choke.
Right.
Like he looked like he was choking.
I believe.
Like,
he did.
I don't know how.
Like the way his face got, he honestly looked like he had something stuck in his throat, like he couldn't breathe. That was real good.
Yeah. Like, I was like, did they actually put something in his throat to shoot the scene or what?
He was over at the craft service table, and he was like, "Oh, hang on, let's do the scene. I got it. Like,
I got it. Let's go. I'm good. Yes, right. I'm good." Okay. Okay. Now Rey's background they built up was trampled on. Just a hard point of contention for me. I'm just going to outright say, no, it was resolved. Mm-hmm. It wasn't, it's not that the question wasn't answered. It was resolved. The question the question not being answered would be not referencing it ever throughout the entire Last Jedi. But it's a big deal to Rey. And that's the wonderful thing about it, is that it's not important to us who her parents are. It's important to her who her parents are. Mm-hmm. I think that Rey's background that they built up was answered. Yeah. And it was answered in a satisfying way for me, at least. And I don't know how to articulate why I'm okay with it. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how to express to people why how they might be able to be okay with it. Exactly.
I feel like for me, I feel satisfied with the answer because I feel like it all fits narratively with like what they're trying to do with Rey as a character, with the story that they're trying to tell, with legacy and how we all fit in the grand story of everything. Like, it fits for me that Rey would come from nothing and yet be able to make herself into a big hero. I think that all ties together very nicely. If you're disappointed that Rey isn't a Kenobi or whatever you wanted her to be, I would just say no, that Rey is disappointed too. She wanted to believe the best of her parents. She wanted to believe that she was someone special, and that, or at the very least, that someone like Luke Skywalker or Han Solo could raise her up and make her into something. And she was horribly, horribly disappointed to come to terms with the fact that they were nobody. And it's up to her to build herself into something. You know, if she wants to be a hero, then she's going to have to make herself a hero. Mm-hmm. It's not going to come from who her parents are. And so if you're disappointed, Rey's also disappointed, and maybe episode 9 will make you more okay with that. But, that's the only solace I can give is that, Rey's disappointed too. It's the theme, and you know,
that's like, it's so powerful to see Poe say, I know, you're Rey.
Yeah.
Oh! Mm-hmm. Oh, my heart.
I know.
And full disclosure, Rey is my favorite character in Star Wars.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
Like, Rey is...
She's my hero.
I know, exactly. Like, Luke was my hero, and I still love Luke, but I'm sorry, Rey, man. This movie especially, like, Force Awakens was like, hey, I like this character a lot. And then The Last Jedi came out, and it just... Nope, it's solidified. I like Rey the most out of every character.
There's something so genuine and pure about her. Not pure like she's uncorruptible. Pure as in like sincere. There's something so sincere about her, and it touches me. I love her so much. And just Poe finally kind of coalesces that thing for Rey where she's just like, I'm Rey, like no last name attached, and Poe's like, yeah, I know, like you're the best, like. That's another thing about Poe in his comic is that, like, he's such a fanboy. Like, C-3PO shows up, and C-3PO is like, oh, I'm nobody. I'm C-3PO. And he's like, yeah, you're C-3PO.
Hey, I know you.
Yeah, you're the coolest. Like, I love that. I love that Poe was such a fanboy over Rey. That melted my heart. It was good.
All right. So before we finish off with Milwaukee's comment, this is actually a really quick answer. His second little response to his own comment. Also, how did Del Toro find out about the plan? No one. He was proofreading, man. I love you, Milwaukee, but proofreading. No one he was with knew the plan, and it wasn't a hackable info since everyone that needed to know already knew about it. Right before they get into the power switch thing, the special, the flux capacitor thing.
Yeah. That's, oh my God. I just realized that's what that is. I didn't realize that. You're so right.
Rian Johnson put a lot of little tiny, apparently the citation or like the statute that Finn and Rose broke by parking thing. Like, apparently that
That's
citation number is like a reference to like a movie from 1953 or something.
Oh my gosh.
Because Rian Johnson is a nerd.
Ryan Johnson's a nerd.
And I love him. He's the best person ever. IMO. That is like, I'm not a big like celebrity guy. Like, if I met, like, I would be happy if I met Daisy Ridley or John Boyega or Mark Hamill or whatever. But Rian Johnson, I would actually be like unapologetic. I would be losing my mind. But anyways, how did DJ know that plan? Right before they go into the flux capacitor looking thing, there is a moment where Poe is telling Finn what Holdo is doing, and DJ, and there's a very specific shot of DJ going. Yeah,
he's like sipping his drink, and he like looks over meaningfully over his cup, like.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
That meaningful glad. Yeah, you hear Poe saying, "Holdo's loading the transports," and you just see DJ like, "Oh yeah, like
I know this thing now." Yeah, there is a moment where DJ does find that out, and that's one thing that I love about Rian Johnson films. And just before we move on to Paul's comments, I like in Rian Johnson films, all of them, Last Jedi, Looper, Brick, Brothers Bloom, they're like 5,000 piece jigsaw puzzles. They require you to really work and really pay attention to all the tiny little turns of the dial and the tiny little shots and the little, like, a lot of people still don't realize that Rey has the library from, like, because there's only 2 quick little shots that implies it, but it's there.
Yep.
And that's what I love about Rian Johnson films. Some people might, I understand the criticism that people don't like that kind of complexity. They don't want to have to do homework in order to understand a movie. They don't want to have to sit there and watch it 8 times in order to understand everything.
That's fair. Yeah.
But for me,
I get that.
And even when you do put all 5,000 pieces together, you might not like the total final picture. That's okay.
Yeah.
Just, that's one thing that I love about Rian Johnson films, is that they demand you to think about exactly how, like, what message was he trying to convey here. I feel like whenever I'm thinking about a Rian Johnson film, I feel like I'm acting like the stereotype art snob of, oh, look at how they removed the color palette. I feel like that, but I get so much joy from that.
Exactly. Yeah. It's fun. It's fun for me to put the puzzle together and be like, oh, look how this line here from this character ties in with this line here from that character. And it makes a big theme. Like, I like that, but I understand if someone else is like, no, that's too much work for me. Just show me the movie. I want to be able to understand it with one viewing. You know, I get that. But that's just not my jam. I really enjoy sitting down and thinking about these things. I think that's part of why I like The Phantom Menace so much, because you got to think about that movie. Like, you got to know what they're doing, like with the music and with, you know, just overall themes of the series. Like, you got to put that puzzle together.
And even like Return of the Jedi, like if it wasn't for John Williams' musical cue, you wouldn't know that Luke attacking Vader so viciously was a bad thing.
Right.
You know,
it's
like
entirely the music that gives you that sense of dread. The Emperor's theme, like, just you know, because of the music, that this is a bad thing. Everything is going horribly, horribly wrong. And so, you're putting all that together, and it's so smart. I love movies like that where it's just so smart.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Milwaukee. I imagine that I have no idea how long we've been talking about this, probably like almost an hour, but you know, now we'll go on to a much longer comment. Thank you so much for the input, Milwaukee. And I hope that we might have helped you at least a little bit. All right. Paul B., thank you so much. I want to take the time real quick to thank every single person that comments on the videos, because even though that we're still a relatively small community on YouTube, the interaction is just insane. Paul, I had to break up your comment into not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 separate images just to put them up on the screen here.
Oh,
because
dear.
You were that detailed, but you were never...
It's dedicated.
Yes. You were that detailed, and there are tons of other people, Mitch Godfrey. I know that you usually post these kinds of comments, Graph. You guys rock, because that is why I started making these YouTube videos, is because I wanted that kind of deep level of interaction that, you know, you can't get with a lot of other different types of media. So thank you guys so much for that.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody.
So Paul, I didn't like The Last Jedi even more after seeing it a second time. I had the feeling that feeling of I'm bored the first time, and I was even more bored the second time around. Albeit I do think that it looks great visually and that there are some great scenes. That's one thing that I've noticed, is that it seems like people, like, no matter, even if you really dislike the film, there's always like at least one or two really good things. Mm-hmm. And that was kind of my sense when I first saw the film. I was like, for the first like hour, I want to say, not quite to the throne room scene, but definitely up to Rose and Finn, about halfway through Rose and Finn's journey through Canto Bight, and right about the time when Rey was going into the dark side cave, was when it switched from being, oh, this is a pretty good Star Wars movie, into, holy crap, I
leaning
love
forward.
This movie.
Yeah, like.
Yes, exactly. So I just think that it seems to be a very common thing that people that aren't just raw hatred for this movie, no matter what, you can still find at least one good thing that you really enjoyed in it. And my advice is that if you found one good thing that you loved about it, hold on to that. Concentrate on that. Yep. Because, yeah, I may have my problems with Rogue One, but the space battle is amazing. That's what I try and concentrate on. I don't agree with people saying Disney killed Star Wars. Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Paul. All the other silly stuff, to me, that is a bit idiotic. Yeah, Star Wars would have been dead by George Lucas's hand if he had any say about it. But you know, a lot of scenarios are highly based off of ESPN, Return of the Jedi, copy and paste moments with just different characters and settings. Yeah, but the prequels had that too. And this was a comedy idea that I wanted to do, but then the toxicity in between over The Last Jedi just got too much, and I didn't want to be taken as seriously. But I wanted to do A New Hope. I wanted to do like what happened with The New Hope came out now.
Oh,
and people, and then there was something like, imagined if, you know, say The Odyssey was still a really big deal. And was still prevalent in people's minds. Like, you know, it's just like A New Hope is a blatant ripoff and repeats of ancient mythologies and the Odysseys. It's an amalgamation of tons of new things. It mirrors things.
Exactly. I felt like that was so much of the point, is that we take these iconic scenes and then play with them. We mirror them. We make them rhyme. That was what George Lucas said. And I actually really love that, the idea that all of these things rhyme together, because then you see changing the context of one scene. You know, we swap out one character for another, can dramatically change the outcome. And, you know, sometimes they end the same, sometimes they end very, very differently. Like swapping out Luke for Rey and Vader for Kylo, it really changes things. And one of my favorite hot takes that I saw on Twitter was like, that the throne room scene between Rey and Kylo is pretty much exactly what would have happened if Vader had survived the death of the Emperor. You know, if Vader had been healthy and whole and alive after the Emperor died, he probably would have been like, okay, time for us to rule as father and son.
Let's go.
Let's go. Come on. Thanks for saving me. Like, you know, thanks for not killing me back there. You know, like, now let's go rule the galaxy. Like, and Luke would have been like, what? Yeah. No, come on. Like, don't go this way. We just had this conversation. Like, you know, like.
I think that's a misconception. I think that now, obviously, none of us are ever going to know exactly what George Lucas meant by how that whole last half hour of Return of the Jedi was. But just because he did one good thing doesn't mean that he's a good person.
Yeah.
Again, like he's committed genocides, multiple. genocides.
Yeah.
Like,
yes.
You know, it just
children, cough, cough. The younglings, cough, cough.
Yeah, exactly. It just like just getting him to do one thing that doesn't like it's not an on-off switch.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
at least not to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's
it's
not
a
how
spectrum.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's not. Yeah, I like the way you put that. It's not an on-off switch. It's not like now he's bad, now he's good. Like
Yeah, I just. Yeah. But the complaint that this is just that same scene over again. I kind of like that because it plays with your expectations and it giving us that different context makes us think about the old things in a different way. Because before we had The Last Jedi, I hadn't really thought about what would have happened if Vader lived, and it's probably the same stuff that's happening to Kylo now. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The next one isn't actually necessarily a complaint. I'll let you take the say first word on the next complaint. But the next one, I'm so happy that you put this, Paul, because this is how you critique things towards people like me and Katie, who I keep gesturing that way because you're that way on the screen, but
I could be on the other side.
Yeah, you're on this side of me.
That's okay. I'll just pretend. I'll like lean over. Exactly. I don't know.
But anyways, to people,
the next point.
To people that really enjoyed the movie, putting in the one or two good things that you really enjoyed definitely helps us feel more comfortable.
Exactly. Yeah. It feels more like it's a discussion and not an attack. Yeah, exactly. You know? Exactly.
And I'm so glad that you loved the page part as much as I did.
Mm-hmm. So that was the next comment was, I agree with you on the opening of the film. I do think that this is one of the best openings in a Star Wars movie. The page part when the button drops does create a gasping moment. I agree. Like, when the tally says bombs away, that's a really big moment. Mm-hmm. Like, and it's so well shot. I feel how tense everything is, the way all the sound drops out. And we see, what was his name? Captain Kennedy,
Kennedy.
Kennedy. Yeah. He's like yelling on the bridge, but we don't hear what he's yelling. And we hear Poe going, no, your sound didn't drop out, but that's what we see. And we just see him like, no, but we don't actually hear him. And then, everything drops and the sound comes back in. It's such a good moment. Just like cinematography 101 right there. I feel like that moment is going to be studied.
I know. It's so good. And on a side note, Captain Kennedy is my personal hero. I love that man because he's evil and Imperial First Order-y guy, whatever. He's effectively a neo-Nazi, but I love the attitude. I love the should have launched him 5 bloody minutes ago. Yes, that's exactly what I want.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say he's been my favorite character since 5 bloody minutes ago.
Exactly. All right. Do you want to take the next one then?
Why don't you go ahead and take it?
Humor took me out of the movie on occasion. I enjoyed Luke's role in the movie. Only nitpicks are him throwing the saber and his shoulder swipe. So the dusting off of his shoulder. It's things like where the humor just isn't necessary and ruins a compelling, intense moment for you. For me, at least, yeah. Another being the saber clanking Rey on the head in Snoke's throne room and her reaching out on her first lesson. I can see where you're coming from, Paul. I will admit that the hardest jokey bit to me, for me to swallow, was that saber toss. I was okay with all of the other ones personally, and I'll get to those in a second. But the saber toss is definitely, it definitely appears to be the most contentious point, where people are seeing that as an attempt at humor. And I don't think that was necessarily the way I came to terms with it was I saw it as a attempt at showing goofiness, but not humor, in that this isn't the Luke Skywalker that you remember. This isn't your Luke Skywalker. This is the Luke Skywalker.
Well, for me, it was like, it was his first moment of just being Yoda, you know, where like he's so done and he's just kind of gonna goof around a little bit. I don't know. Like, I do think it's sincere. Like, he's like, no, I don't want this. Like, he's not like trying to rib Rey.
Yeah.
But I do think it was our first hint that this movie is going to maybe not.
This isn't going to go the way.
Yeah, it's not going to go the way you think. Yeah, exactly. And these big legendary things that we build up in our head don't always pan out that way.
Yeah, exactly. And as for the shoulder swipe, I'm going to basically just say my inner 12-year-old that had no idea how to deal with that much testosterone was incredibly excited. Yeah. That was just.
Yeah, I felt like I was watching The Phantom Menace again for the first time because I was 10 years old when The Phantom Menace came out and just like it touched that excited child part of me. And, you know, I did watch like The Phantom Menace with my jaw on the floor. And that's how I felt watching this movie. And like the little shoulder, you know, yeah, it did. Exactly. It like that inner kid that I have was like, oh, that's so cool. Ah!
Yeah, exactly. That's the big thing. Like, I don't necessarily subscribe to all OT fans don't like the prequels and I don't necessarily subscribe to that personally. But there is definitely something to be said for people who have seen the thing. Like, I was 8 when The Phantom Menace came out. And yeah, I love that. Like, the pod racing scene is, I love it so much.
I know kids, that, you know, if I show them the pod racing scene, they stand in front of the screen and jump. Like, you know, they get as close as they can to the TV and just jump up and down because they're so excited to be watching the space car race, you know?
Right.
And that's how I felt so much during the Last Jedi. And then the humor touched that kid part of me as well. I can understand if it just doesn't work for you. If it just doesn't work for you, then it doesn't work for you. I'm sorry. Yeah, humor is subjective. What seems cool is subjective. It can depend on your age, you know, or just, I don't know. Does this reach you? Does this work for you? And it absolutely worked for me. And I'm sorry it didn't work for you, buddy, because I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, exactly. Do you have another one? Now, the saber clacking Rey on the head, that just made me more scared of Snoke. Like, he can be in a Playboy robe all he wants. The fact that he just goes and Rey goes flying across the fucking nope,
I don't want that. Nope, I'm out. Bye.
Yeah. I could be playing Star Killer fully leveled up from The Force Unleashed, and there's no chance in hell I'm going anywhere near that freaking ship. I'm not even going to the same sector that ship is in, let alone the actual throne room. No.
It's like, that's a boss fight I'm not ready for. I'm out.
No thanks. And her reaching out for her first lesson, I'm not a loud person in the theater. I legitimately laughed out loud at that. Just like Katie just said, it's totally subjective. I found it absolutely hilarious. I saw it as inner Mark Hamill.
Yeah.
That's Mark Hamill being Luke for a couple of seconds.
Also, I don't know. I feel like if you've never meditated once in your entire life and someone tells you to sit down, close your eyes, you're like, okay, I'm sitting down, closing my eyes. Now reach out. You would be like, okay, like, what am I, you know, like you would, you just would, that would probably be your natural inclination was he says, sit down, close your eyes. You do these two very literal things. And now he says, now reach out. You'd be like, okay. Like,
yeah, exactly.
I don't know. It felt genuine to me. It worked for me. I thought it was funny. Like,
and I get the humor. I know a couple people. I've seen a couple people, a couple other YouTubers and stuff that put up, you know, like 30-minute long videos about how the humor was all wrong in The Last Jedi, and that's totally subjective.
Yeah, it's subjective. Like, freaking Jar Jar makes kids laugh.
I still, to this day, quick tangent about work. I work in a warehouse, and I put stuff in totes. Like, if you ever go into a retail place, they've got those plastic totes with loose items in it.
Oh, okay.
I'm the guy that puts those things in the totes. So you go to grab a tote, and sometimes there's, like, a dead bug underneath the handle, or, like, you know.
Okay.
Or, you know, some other nasty surprise.
Yeah. Okay.
And you go to grab the tote to put it on the rollers to start picking into it, start putting stuff into it. And sometimes you put your hand in something sticky. And to this day, I still go, ugh, icky goo. I still do that. I can't. It doesn't turn off. It doesn't turn off.
So I will occasionally go, excuse me.
Yes, I do that all the time.
Excuse me.
Yes. Another popular quote for me is, "I give up. I give up.
No, quit. Yeah. Done."
Nope.
Yeah. No, like, humor's subjective. Jar Jar made me laugh so hard when I was a kid, less when I was a teenager, and now that I'm grown, he makes me laugh even harder.
Exactly. It was so good.
Maybe it's just because I know that he annoys other people so much, so I'm getting like a sick glee out of it.
I'm enjoying this and you're not.
We stepped in icky goo. Yes.
All right. Well, let's move on to the next part of Paul's comments.
I could get this one if you want.
Real quick, before we start on this, do you want to take a break or something to rest your voice or anything? I just noticed that you've been coughing a lot. So
I'm so sorry. You haven't been able to hear me, right? I've been trying to.
No, I haven't been hearing. I just keep seeing it in the corner of my eye while I'm.
I understand. Yeah, no, I've had a little bit of a cold, but I'm popping cough drops. I'm fine.
Okay,
all right.
Sounds good. All right.
Yeah, thank you so much for understanding. You're very sweet. Yeah. But this next part, I actually have something to say about this part. So the comment is, Daisy Ridley's acting is very flat in a few scenes. Quote, Master Skywalker, we need you to bring the Jedi back because Kylo Ren is strong with the dark side of the Force. Yes, that is a very flat read. I would argue it's intentional because that is the third time she has tried to use that line to convince Luke Skywalker to come back with her. I think that's just her pitch, and she's gotten really tired of saying it, just all like, listen, things haven't changed. Kylo Ren is strong with the dark side of the Force. Come back with me. And Luke's just like, the pitch just doesn't work. So
she's just repeating it. That's kind of where my mind went too. I'm sorry, like you look at like the throne room acting from Rey, or the crate acting from Rey, or the scenes with Kylo from Daisy Ridley. It just I cannot believe that was the best take that they could get. That has to be there intentional.
Right,
that has to be there intentionally. And my read, like, I like your point, Katie, but my way of seeing it is that is her pitch. Like, she's flying, like at the end of The Force Awakens, she is flying to go and meet Luke frickin' Skywalker.
Right, you practice what you're gonna say.
Yeah, exactly.
You practice. Like, I met Ray Park once, and I practiced what I was gonna say. Like, I'm like standing in line, like.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. She rehearsed that. Like, Chewbacca was in the background going, it's fine, he's just a farm boy, it's fine. But she's like, no, he's Luke Skywalker.
Exactly. Like, that's how I read that, like that flat read. I totally agree with you. I think that was flat, and it did pull me out of the movie for a second. I went, wow, that didn't sound good.
Yeah.
Like that was like, at least in my opinion, that was like Padme in Attack of the Clones in a couple scenes, like
with her regal voice. Yeah, she does that.
Then might work, but then I thought about it for a couple seconds again during my first viewing, and I went, oh, that's probably why, and I just carried on with the movie. So maybe that might help you with at least that particular scene. Next is Canto Bight. I'm with most when it comes to Finn and Rose. Didn't like Rose nor her line at the end of the film. Their whole story really took me away from the film. Okay, am I correct in guessing that I think I'm a bigger Rose fan and Rose and Finn fan especially than you, maybe? Like, I'm more passionate about that interaction between the two?
I think, as far as Finn and Rose's relationship goes, you're definitely the more enthusiastic out of the two of us, though. I will die for Rose Tico, though. I will take a bullet for her. She is a gem and a treasure, and I'll hear nary a word against her.
Yeah.
Finn and Rose's relationship, though, I'm kind of like, But like Rose as an entity, like, no, she's my girl.
Yeah, exactly. So just let me monologue here for a second on the Canto Bight bit, because the Canto Bight bit is huge to me because it's a character building thing. It's allowing us to learn about Rose. That entire Canto Bight sequence is allowing us to learn about Rose and for Finn to learn about Rose and to learn things from Rose. There's a seed that Rian Johnson plants so many freaking seeds in the first and second acts of this movie that get paid off in the third act. Yeah. But there's a seed that's planted for the line that you personally didn't enjoy. I'm assuming that you're talking about, we're going to win by saving what we love, not killing what we hate, or not killing what we hate, but by saving what we love. Oh. There's a callback to there's something that you can call back to in the Canto Bight sequence where they're running the fathiers, and Finn says something like, it was worth it trashing that town. And then she frees the fathier that they were riding and says, no, now it was worth it. And that's like, I said this in I think I said it in the review that you actually have to comment on, so I might be repeating myself, but it's about, I'll try and be a little bit more, eloquent and clear in my delivery. It's not necessarily about what the end result of your actions are. It's the motivation behind those actions that matter. You cannot, especially with today's political climate, especially here in the US, you cannot go through life seeing everyone that disagrees with you as the enemy. And it's not the way to win against an enemy. The way to win isn't by causing more pain. The way to win is by bringing more love into the world, by bringing more light into the world, by trying to bridge gaps and trying to deal with your conflicts without riots, without suicidal attacks on super weapons just to cause more pain. That was the big point about like a lot of people say that Rose robbed Finn of a character moment. For me, Finn's character moment happened when he did this, and when he said, "I'm not going to let them win." That was his character moment, and him dying wouldn't have really done anything for that. Yeah. And Rose saving him, that might have bought the Resistance a couple hours, maybe. And that's only if he would have made it. There's a chance that he wouldn't have made it to me personally, the way I interpret that scene. Yes, the scene might have been able to been shot a little bit more or a little bit less ambiguously. You can interpret it that yes, he would have made it and destroyed the cannon, but in my head, at least, he wouldn't have made it. Or he would have maybe caused some minor damage that would have given them another hour, maybe. Yeah. And on the Rose Finn romance, me personally, I feel that I'm not a big fan of romantic subplots in anything. I'm just not that interested in the romance of things. It just doesn't work for you. That's fine. It just doesn't. Yeah. It's just not a big, whatever. Yeah. Like the Leia Han thing, I acknowledge that Leia and Han romance is really good and really well written. I just don't really. Okay, yeah, they ended up together. Cool. But I think I feel that way because romance to me is such a subjective term. Like the way one author or the way one screenwriter would portray romance isn't the way that I feel romance is, like the nature of romance, because you're always basing what romantic is based off of your interactions with your significant others. And for me, I love the idea of Rose being so enamored with somebody that may not feel the same way about her, but he still cares about her. I really enjoy that kind of lopsided dynamic. Yeah. I'm not too, because to me at least, that reminds me of certain romantic relationships that I've had. I've had 2 serious romantic relationships in my life, one with my high school girlfriend, one with obviously my now fiance. And to me, romance always starts out with awkwardness and weirdness. And like, do they feel the same way about me as I do about them? Do I make a move? Who talks first? Do I talk first? And it's always in the weirdest situations where you're doing something else. Mm-hmm. And so the Rose Finn romance is it feels more natural to me than any other fictional romance that I've ever seen, at least personally.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, so it just works for you in a way that it obviously didn't work for Paul, which is fine. These are both valid. Yeah. You brought your own personal everything to this movie. You looked at it and saw it in a way that Paul just didn't, because of who you are. You're different people with different experiences, and these are both valid things. And I absolutely love what you were saying about how intent is so important, and especially in Star Wars, and how there's a huge difference between people that fight what they hate and want to destroy what they hate, and those who fight to save what they love. Like there's a difference between the Ewoks defending their home. They're not fighting because they hate stormtroopers. They're fighting because they love their home and they want to protect their home. It's the same with like the Gungans on Naboo. They don't hate those droids. They just want to protect their home. There's such a difference. And then one of these things allows peace to be restored and everything. And another, hatred only begets more hatred, right? So when, Finn just going out there to hurt the First Order, that would not have been able to end the conflict. That's not what destroys the will be what destroys the First Order. Mm-hmm. What ultimately ends the conflict will be people saving what they love.
Yeah. And that's, I would even say that if Finn had been allowed to fully carry out his act, that would have been very much a prequel era Jedi act. Yeah. I need, like, you look at like Dark Disciple by Christy Golden, the Asajj Ventress and Quinlan Voss story. That like, I kind of see that as kind of the same sort of thing. The motivation that the Jedi have, the motivation that Mace Windu in particular has in that book, is we need to end this. We need to cause them pain and cut off the head of the snake and be done. Yeah. Instead of, we need to make sure that we need to take care of our own house first. Yeah. We need to be taking care of the innocent people first.
Yeah, exactly. That was such Padme's thing. She was so anti-war, and she didn't want to create the clone army. She was committed to diplomacy, and she knew that the only way to end conflict is to get everybody to agree on the best course of action and then do it, because the only way to end conflict, the only way to move forward, is to turn your enemies into friends. Everybody agree on one course of action and then do it together. That's what she did on her own planet. That's what she did for Naboo. She brought the Naboo and the Gungans together, and they were able to move forward. And so, that theme is so firmly established in the prequels. I love seeing it carried over to the sequels and then really played with and explicitly stated. We are at a point in episode 8 where we have really learned these things and can explicitly state these things. The children have learned from the parents, and so when J.J. Abrams says that he wants to culminate the entire saga with episode 9, I really hope that's what he means. He means taking these lessons that we started learning in the prequels, we can then culminate them in episode 9. That's my hope.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
For what it's worth, I do appreciate J.J. Abrams' filmmaking style. I personally would be much happier if Rian Johnson would be doing episode 9.
Yes.
But but we're also unapologetic Rian fanboys.
Yes.
So,
yes. Yeah. So we're a little biased. Just a little
bit biased. All right. Anyways, Mad Max in space was the vibe I got from the Resistance. That probably is where I got that Mad Max reference that I talked about like an hour ago. Was the vibe I got from the Resistance fleeing the First Order. Just never felt once that anyone of significance was in any real danger after Leia came back, and knowing they all end up on Crate anyways. Yeah, I think that might have been exactly what Rian Johnson was trying to push people away from the trailer for.
Yeah.
It's that, well, we all know that they get to Crate. We all know, well, we know that the movie gets to Crate. We don't know who gets to Crate though.
That's fair.
And I can definitely understand the Leia coming back might have kind of tipped off that most people would make it to Crate.
See, for me though, the fun in kind of knowing, oh, well, they get to Crate. For me, it's how are they going to get out of this one? You know, that's the question. There's the rub, because that's how I feel throughout the prequels. I'm like, well, I know that Obi-Wan survives this battle with Darth Maul, but Darth Maul just pushed him into a pit. How's he going to get out of this one? You know, that's the question that I ask myself when Padme and Anakin are about to get executed in Attack of the Clones. I know they survive. I know they have children, but how are they going to get out of this one? And that's what I kept asking myself throughout The Last Jedi. When Leia was floating through space, I was just like, what? Like, I didn't know what was going to happen or how she was going to survive this. And I was like, maybe the Crate stuff doesn't happen. Maybe that was disdirect. Like, all of these things are swirling in my head. That's basically boiled down to how's she going to get out of this one? Mm-hmm. And I love seeing that question answered. So for me, there is that suspense, because even though, yes, I know they have to get from point A to point B, seeing that journey is worthwhile to me. So, but I do understand if that does take away some of the drama for you, because you're like, well, I know how this ends. I know they have to end up in Crate. I get that. I totally do. But for me, I still get that sense of drama personally.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hear you. All right, next image. I'll let you go ahead and take. Wow. Yeah, you go ahead and take this one. Have fun.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. It says, The Force Awakens builds up a lot of questions and makes us immediately want to watch the next movie. True. Yes. These questions are created for us as fans to discuss. Disney knows that we will discuss it all, and they get us invested in these characters, thanks to J.J. Abrams, and in the end, it does feel like a big F.U. as Rian Johnson couldn't come up with any way to handle certain characters properly. One of the obvious ones, of course, would be Snoke. I never bought into theories because that's all they just were. But it makes you question what his role is when people like Pablo Hidalgo and Rian Johnson are using the term, quote, your Snoke theory sucks. Gets those who are more heavily invested in Star Wars more intrigued by his character. I bet if the internet and social media was around in 1980, people would have heavily discussed who the Emperor is. But now with so much additional storytelling added to Star Wars over the past 30 years, it's why so many people crave an answer to who Snoke is and who Rey's parents are. I'm satisfied with the answers that we got, or even in Snoke's case, the lack of an answer. I'm satisfied because I am way more interested in Kylo than I am in Snoke.
Yeah, that's the big. I'm chalking this up to, at least in my personal opinion, I'm going to chalk this up to what I like to call the Game of Thrones effect. Because of Game of Thrones and Breaking Bad and these episodic TV shows that have massively long seasons-long story arcs, you get so much more screen time. It's like reading a book, but in video format. Mm-hmm. And now that's what we crave. We need more elaboration, explanation as an audience. And in my personal opinion, I feel that we need to try and take a step back from that and see it that this is a 2.5 hour movie. That's a pretty long movie.
It's like 2 episodes of Game of Thrones.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like it's, yeah. We get 10 per season, and we've had like 6 seasons. Like,
yeah, exactly. So they can't explain all of these things. They're going to concentrate and prioritize things like Rey's character, Kylo's character, Leia's character, Poe's character. That's who they're going to prioritize and worry about. They're not going to worry about... Snoke was a plot device in the sequel trilogy, at least so far. Snoke was just a plot device. He's not a character.
Yeah.
I
feel that. I do.
but I'm okay with that. Like,
same.
I'm okay with because the story that matters is Kylo's story and Rey's story. We can figure out Snoke's, and it's. I've seen Jeremy Johns, massive YouTuber. I'm certain that if you're watching this channel, you know who he is. And I appreciate his take on it. He says that the books and the comics are DLC for the movies. And he's kind of right
smart.
on that.
Yeah.
But he's saying it in the negative connotation of some nasty DLC, downloadable content for games, for anybody that's not big into gaming watching. But the negative connotation of DLC nowadays is that you can have part of the game for $60 and then here's the rest of the game for another $60.
Yeah. Okay.
In DLC, optional content, but it's not actually optional. In my opinion, this is good DLC. This is DLC back in the mid 2000s, late 2000s, where it is just bonus material. It is
like an extra character bits. Or something, you know?
It is extra bits that you can pay for and enjoy. And so, it is downloadable content, but it's good DLC. At least in my opinion.
I feel like, see, for me, I understand you were like, what is with Snoke? He's so powerful. There's obviously a story there and you crave that story. I understand that. I really do. I get that. And I'm sure it'll be a great comic and stuff. But as far as the movies go, it's way more important to focus on Kylo. It's not important to stop and explain where Snoke came from. It's just way more important to see what Kylo does without his influence. And to me, like, for example, what Rey chooses to do with the Skywalker saber is way more important than how she got her hands on it. You know, like Maz Kanata, a good question for another time. Like, what people choose to do with what they have is way more important than answering the question of how they got it. Yeah. You know, so I do get it. I'm not completely I'm not completely like, oh, Snoke, whatever, I can never hear from him again. No, if somebody has a story they want to tell with Snoke, I'm here for that. But honestly, I'm so glad that he's just gone in this movie, because now we can really invest in Kylo as our villain. I think that's cool. Yeah.
And so, as for Rey's parentage, again, it is resolved. We know who they are. And for everybody out there, real quick, I'm just going to go on a soapbox tangent.
Yeah.
No. Don't give me that. Well, Kylo could have been lying to her. No, Kylo elaborated. She already knew who her parents were. She was like 8 when they abandoned her. She knew what they were. She just didn't want to admit it to herself. And her, like Daisy Ridley's performance is clearly conveying that she is now accepting that and letting that into her heart, and it hurts. Yeah. It's not just losing Ben and seeing that Ben isn't who she wants him to be. It's also her understanding and allowing herself to finally feel the pain of being abandoned by her drunk parents. Yeah, exactly.
Rey is so full of hope and goodness and light that she could not accept that her parents would just throw her away. She's like, no, they'll come back for me. She had to believe that. That's just who she is. It's her character. And what that shirtless scene with Kylo where he says, your parents threw you away like garbage. And she just spits back, they didn't. Like, she's so firmly believes in goodness that she's like, no, they wouldn't do that. I am not garbage, and my parents would not have done that. But she does know the truth inside. She's just doesn't want to admit it.
Yeah, she's not. And I think everybody on the planet has done that kind of thing. They've suppressed either self-guilt or the guilt in other people in order to try and make their lives easier. And that just makes the character more and more real for me.
Yeah.
And, I can't wait to record my commentary on the movie. I think I'm going to do 2 commentaries. I'm going to do one commentary with the movie just constantly running, and I'm going to do like a pause and go commentary. So it's actually going to be like 4 hours longer than the actual movie.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
where it's just going to be like, okay, we're going to pause here. Boop. And now I'm going to talk for half an hour about why I love so much that Rey puts her hand out and feels the rain coming off the Falcon.
No, I feel that. Yeah, when I like live tweet, watching Star Wars, I'm like, there's so many times where I'm like, I'm missing half the movie because I'm tweeting so long about this one scene. I'm like,
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
All right. Fourth and final bit from or final image from Paul.
Set of comments, yeah.
Yes, a set of comments. Wasted potential, I meant in your first review, was loosely based on Snoke and Phasma. Really disappointed in the screen time of Phasma and how she was handled, especially after the novel and how much of a warrior she is, but was just dropped by a toilet cleaner. It shows to me that the canon isn't really paid attention to too well. I'm just going to concentrate on Phasma because I think we already covered the Snoke bit quite a bit. Mm-hmm. Now, in defense of Finn, they've been making janitorial jokes twice now. Mm-hmm. But he was, here's the DLC bit that there is some bad DLC-ish things, but in Before the Awakening, the short story that came out before A New Hope, before The Force Awakens. Freudian slip 72. There. Yeah. Before the Awakening, a little short book that had Poe's story, a Finn story, and a Rey story. Finn's story, he's like a Spec Ops riot trooper.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, he's like, even SEAL Team 6 has barracks duties. Mm-hmm. Like they still have to go and clean the toilets and mop the floors and like do their laundry and stuff. Like, I don't know. So I think Finn is being undersold by a large portion of the fandom that he's actually kind of a badass.
Yeah.
I mean, he held his own against Kylo, kind of.
I feel like even Hux could kick some amount of ass just from being in the First Order. When you live and you're bred by the First Order, you spend 5 hours a day training in hand-to-hand and blaster training and all that stuff. Like, I don't think, obviously, Hux is like as physically capable as, the actual stormtroopers. But I think every single stormtrooper and then all of the officers, to some degree, can kick some amount of butt. Like, I do think Phasma was supposed to be like the best, and so it is a little like, Finn, you were level 12. How'd you beat the level 50 boss? Like, that is a little unbalanced, but they did go out of their way to show how caught off guard Phasma was by that swing to the face. And like the thing he hit her with was like, that's supposed to kill you. And she took it to the face, like, like. It was an exexecution. What do they call it? Axe? I don't know.
No, that actually wasn't an execution axe. I think that was the riot baton thingy that FN 2199 used in Force Awakens.
Still, she took it to the face. You.
Yeah, that's still taking a billy club to the face.
Mm-hmm. And like, and it didn't kill her. It just knocked her down, and then the fire presumably killed her. Yeah. So. I will point out that their masks filter smoke, not toxins. So, maybe, I don't know. I'm just like, I'm clinging to that hope that Phasma will get more. But I feel like the movies are done with her. And out of like all the complaints listed here, or critiques, grievances listed here, the whole Phasma was underused is the one that has the most traction with me, because I just sigh deeply. I'm like, I wanted so much more for Phasma. And the whole thing about Phasma's book is that I feel like they knew she wasn't going to get much screen time in this movie. Like, when that book was being written, this movie was in post-production. Like, let's be real, And just somebody had an idea of like, hey, can I flesh out her character? Can I play around with this? Can I give her a backstory? And Story Group was like, sure, why not? So I don't feel like the book was supposed to build up Phasma as, hey, she's going to be really important in The Last Jedi. It was just supposed to give us more of a look into her character. But I will agree that I am disappointed. Like, come on.
I can understand the disappointment. To me, because I am unapologetically a hero guy. I don't really. There's a reason
Dark
why.
side.
There's a reason why this is my frame and she has that frame. We'll just say that.
Dark side.
So for me, the character, like, to me, villains, with the exception of Kaiwa, who's really pulled me in as a character.
Well, he wants to be a hero so bad. He wants it.
But
Yeah.
I find that I see villains in most stories, in most TV shows or movies or whatever, as just obstacles for our heroes to overcome. I'm invested and care about what the heroes are doing. And to me, I think that Phasma fulfilled her purpose to Finn in being a symbol of his old life. And he
conquered it.
And he conquered it with the help of one of his new friends.
That's fair. I do get that. I do get, like, ultimately bad guys got to lose, good guys got to win. And that was actually something Ray Park said. Somebody asked him in an interview, you know, were you disappointed that Maul dies at the end of The Phantom Menace? Did you want more from him and stuff? And he was just like, no, it always made sense to him that the bad guys got to get it. You know, he was like, it just, that's what you do in the movies and in storytelling. The good guys win and the bad guys lose. So I do. Yeah. If you're like, no, Phasma had to be defeated sooner or later. I get that. And you're more interested in Finn as a character. That totally makes sense. But for me, at the same time, I'm like, she could have done just a little more. Could have just been just a little cooler. Gotten her moment, but oh well. Yeah,
it's just there's no preference. That's what it all comes down to. That's the whole point of this. How God only knows how long. I know that the file size is currently at almost 8 gigs and more, and this is only a 1080p video, so God only knows how long we've been talking. The end result is first no preference, man.
Yep.
But anyways, next point.
Let's see. Episode 9 may still bring some more twists and turns on Snoke and other characters, much like the third movie of both previous trilogies. So while this movie doesn't make me exactly want to immediately see the next one, I, of course, still look forward to it because it's Star Wars. Yeah!
Yeah. You know, I'm so glad that you still look forward to it because it's Star Wars, because, like, especially with, like, the solo drama right now, it's like, and I'm not expecting a blockbuster, amazingly emotional, you know, roller coaster ride of a solo movie. I'm expecting to go in and watch what is effectively a Fast and Furious movie. Yeah, it's gonna be dumb fun. Just go in, watch Han Solo kick some ass, leave the theater.
It's gonna be a good time. That's all I really need it to be. I just need it to be a good time. And I love the Fast and Furious movies because I don't expect too much from them. I just want them to be a good time, and that's what they are. Right. I do understand. When you see Star Wars, you kind of, because we're such big Star Wars fan, you do kind of want a little more. You want to feel invested and stuff. And, you know, we put so much importance and weight on these movies. But I don't know, since we're getting one a year and they've made such a distinction between the saga films and our side stories, I don't know. We can have just a fun solo story, I think. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It just... I think now real quick. So where this movie doesn't make me exactly want to immediately see the next one. I have no idea what you're talking about. I can't empathize or even sympathize with that. I need it now. No idea what you're talking about. Yeah, I need to know what happens to the Millennium Falcon afterwards. I need to see where the Resistance goes. I need to see where I need to see what Rey does. I need to see what Kylo does. I need to see what Hux does. I need to know what Finn does. Does Rose survive? Does Finn fall in love with her? Like that's where I'm at right now. I'm just as hyped for episode 9 coming. I was just as hyped for episode 9 coming out of episode as I was when I came out of episode 7. Like when I walked out of episode 8, I was just as hyped as I was after episode 7. I was just as, let's go! I was like, I want all of them. I gotta right now. 2 years. No.
It's like, I don't just want 8. I want 8 and 9 right now. Yeah. Like that's how I felt coming out of 7. Yeah. And that, like, I feel that even more coming out of 8. I was like, I need to know how this ends. I would read the script, honestly. I know they haven't even started shooting yet, but if somebody just left the script for the next movie on my doorstep, I would read it. I would not be able to stop myself. Like, I gotta know. I gotta know where this is all going.
I'd like to think that I would have the self-control.
Nah.
I don't know. I might be able to do it if I do it super dramatically, like burn it. I'm gonna have to
I'm not gonna read this and set it on fire.
The dark side will not tempt me.
No, not me. I go straight to the dark. I'm like, oh, turn the floor.
You went straight to the dark.
Yeah. Resistant ray. No. The ground splits open. Luke Skywalker screams my name. Like, nah.
What's gonna be his clever hashtag for episode 9? Because he had to wait for 8.
Right. I started up Pine for 9.
Yeah.
Somebody else. Pine for 9. Yeah. Somebody else did In Line for 9. I'm like, oh, that's good. You're gonna be waiting a while, but no, I pine.
That's 2 syllables though. It needs to be 1 syllable.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I pine for 9.
Pine for 9. All right. So finally, Paul wraps up everything with put a lot of stuff down and could easily discuss more. I have nobody that I know who loves Star Wars like me to really discuss anything Star Wars related. So putting how I feel into text is not the easiest thing, as it can always be misinterpreted. For sure. I know that feeling. Trust me.
Yeah.
I hope none of this comes across as butthurt fanboy. It definitely didn't. I'm going to be totally honest with you. I wanted to congratulate you on your diplomatic approach towards your as you say it, disappointment in this movie. Differently to what others are doing on the internet. Yes, very much so. Maybe episode 9 will make me see episode 8 in a different light. That's a very good point. I think that a lot of people gained new appreciation for The Force Awakens after episode 8. Yeah. At least the people that really enjoyed episode 8. So I know I did.
Yeah. Same.
It's possible, but just as a whole, I didn't think it was a very good movie and felt quite embarrassed watching it in the theater, wondering what my girlfriend, she also didn't enjoy it, and other casual viewers I know are thinking about it. For what it's worth, I don't think that other casual viewers didn't like the movie.
I think they liked it as a whole. Yeah. It was very pretty. The themes and the arcs were clear. You know, what's really important when you're engaging audiences, even general audiences, is motivation. Your characters need to be motivated, and every single one of our characters had clear motivations. You know, we know what they want and what they hope to achieve. And I think general audiences really engaged with that. So I don't think Star Wars is in trouble by any means. I think critics and general audiences really, really liked this movie. I think the only people really disappointed were Star Wars fans who didn't really get what they wanted out of this movie. Of course, there are lots of Star Wars fans like you and me who we absolutely got what we wanted, but there are some people who didn't, and that's okay. So I think, yes, this movie plays well to general audiences. But if you're a certain stripe of Star Wars fan who you just didn't get what you wanted, that's okay. And I'm sorry. I'm sure I hope that there will be more Star Wars movies in the future that do give you what you want, because, I mean, we're all just here to enjoy it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's the point. Yeah. It's about enjoying. It's about walking. Like when I walk into my office, every once in a while, I'll pick up my little Ray speeder. Or I'll pick up my little Ayla Secura pop vinyl, or, and just go, or whatever with it. Like, that is Star Wars to me.
Yeah.
And it's about concentrating on the positive things that you love. Like, I don't talk about Rogue One very much on this channel, because I wasn't a big fan of it. And I don't like to dwell on things that I don't like in Star Wars, personally.
That's good. That's a good philosophy to have, I think. I think dwelling on what you hate just makes you more angry, and more bitter. And so it's so much more important and fun to concentrate on what you love and to celebrate what you love. So I get that. I absolutely do. And that's what any Star Wars fan wants, is to be able to come to Star Wars and enjoy it. And so I really hope that if you didn't like The Last Jedi, either maybe our discussion helps you see it in a different light, or maybe just this isn't the Star Wars movie for you, and one in the future will be, and you can have that joy again.
Yes. Very well put. Thank you so much, Katie, for being here.
Oh, absolutely.
It was so great. It was so amazing to finally be able to have a really long conversation, because I think we met on the Kanji Cast, which is Star Wars Underworld's patron show. Mm-hmm. And then I learned about your podcast, and we started talking on Twitter, and it was so awesome to actually be able to have like an in-depth, long-form discussion with you. Thank you so much for that.
Of course. Thank you for having me. Thank you for inviting me on. This was so much fun. Like I said, I just love talking about Star Wars, like all day, every day. I just want to talk about all the Star Wars.
Yes, exactly.
So thank you so much. Yeah.
Yes. Be sure to follow Pohot Dameron on Twitter. That's Katie's personal Twitter. I'll also have the Moon Jockey's Twitter linked down below.
Thanks. Check us out.
Yes.
We have a good time. Yeah. We have a good time just talking about Star Wars. It's just a general Star Wars discussion podcast. We're not a news podcast or anything like that. We just talk about different Star Wars themes, different Star Wars movies, all the movies.
Mm-hmm. You and Brian do an excellent job over there.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you so much.
No. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hopefully, maybe someday I'll be able to get on there. We'll
that would be so much fun. We would love to have you. We absolutely would. Yes, we have to make that happen. We will.
Sounds good. Now, with that being said, like I said, my Twitter, Katie's Twitter, and her podcast Twitter are all going to be linked down in the description below. I'll probably also try and find the link to her podcast. Be sure to like this video if you enjoyed it. That lets me know that we're doing something right here. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button too if you enjoyed it, for more reviews and all of that fun stuff. Thank you guys as always for your time. And as always, may the Force be with you. Take care.